housing that's still going. Air quality program. We monitor dust, PM 10 size dust, very small, not only from the Owens driveway, but from areas around Bishop that have trained dust into the air. PM 2.5, which is smoke. So we have a smoke monitor, a dust monitor, and recently we have an ozone monitor that is a climate type of gas that comes from automobiles, and fortunately we're in a attainment area for ozone. So we're kind of the east side of California, we have pretty good not an ozone problem. So let's see, natural resources. We have a natural resources program. It gets into hazard fuels production. Wildfire is a big thing and becoming more of a thing over here with dry fuels. This land here was originally settled back in '38 with large plots with families, much smaller population. And since then, it's 2,000 now, it's like 600 homes or something, 1 acre lots. And so we've seen a lot of fuels, a lot of dry grasses, and a lot of with the irrigation, a lot of trees. And so all that with the winds and the climate change and everything drying out, we've had some pretty catastrophic wildfires near here, Mountain Valley Fire, Pleasant Fire, and then some of the big ones farther away. We not only get impacted by smoke, but it's just a matter of time before we get impacted by serious wildfire. So these are all water-related issues. They're all climate issues. We have a program in mosquito control. We have solid waste issues. And then most recently we have a food sovereignty program that started about 4 years ago to try to enhance the viability of growing more food locally and healthy food. So if you look over here after you leave, there's a garden over here on the left, and that's a garden that we started several years ago. We have a seed sharing house that we built out of mud, basically, greenhouses. Let's see. So we have two gardens, looking at a third one. And we do workshops. We work with tribal elders, taking them out to the Indian gathering sites, looking at the Paiute. It's a caterpillar that lives kind of up near Mammoth. They come out of the soil, they go up the trees, and they turn into butterflies. And the Paiute eat the caterpillar, actually, and roast them. And so we've been doing with we have a natural resource intern program in the summertime, young adults for travel, young adults to go out and do trail work and do these sort of stewardship activities. So, and then we've recently done some solar work here. We're doing we're working with Grid Alternatives to install solar on homes. We have a goal of 2020 to about half the able people that can have this low-income program on their homes, so about 200 by 2020. So we have about 138 done now of homes, single-family homes that have solar. And then, so lastly, the COSA project. So that's why I wanted to talk to you about that you might be interested in. I think some of your classes have been up to the COSA before. It's a 25-acre area in our commercial park, established in 1998, about the time I started working here. And that was a mitigation project for a wetland. Tried wanting to put in a place to put commercial buildings, but land speculate to get money. So it's a commercial endeavor. We have on top of our tribal offices, we have the U.S. Forest Service BLM building down there now. We have the DMV. We have a new gas station that's going to be coming in. Anyway, in the center of this 50-acre parcel, there was a lot of wetland area. So back in the Army Corps of Engineers came in, did a wetland delineation request of the tribe and set aside that acreage as mitigation. And they called it the Conservation Open Space Area. There's a lot of conservation open space areas everywhere. So we haven't really named it yet. It's still called the Conservation Open Space Area. So we just call it NCOSA, which is the NCOSA. So back in, let's see, we've been working on a project with California Fish and Wildlife for several years to explore the opportunities to try to bring back some habitat for the Owens pupfish, which is you've probably read a little bit about it. It's a killifish. It's a type of fish that originally, I think lived in Florida and it migrated all the way here through the Quaternary, through lakes, and so this is, I believe this area is like the highest in elevation, the farthest west and the farthest north of any pupfish in North America. That's what I've heard. I mean, if anyone knows, otherwise let me know. But Death Valley has some pupfish. Armagosa over in Armagosa Valley, there's pupfish there. So there's different species of pupfish. But this type of pupfish is the Owens pupfish. And it's the only pupfish that lives in the Owens Valley. And it's been declining basically ever since the early part of the century, where water diversions and game fish were pretty much touted as responsible for the decline. So when I started working here, there was a couple different places where they were. BLM Spring out in the volcanic tablelands, which is BLM land, that's kind of the mainstay. Warm Springs, kind of down by Big Pine, and a few other places. The problem with the pupfish is that in recovering them, so the pupfish have been around for a long time, and the relationship between the pupfish and the coyotes have been around for a long time. And but it's only been in the last 100 years or so that we've had this decline. There's also other fish here, desert fish, in addition to pupfish, that are very small fish, like the tweed chub. We have some in our fish tanks back there you can take a look at. The Owens Valley speckled bass, there's one back there, and the Owens sucker. So there's like 4 different fish that are indigenous to this area. One of those fish, so several of them are on the species list for California as critical. One of them is on the list for federally endangered, which is pupfish. And the pupfish is also gets the great designation of being on another list, which is the problem list. It's the California Fully Protected list. So that list was apparently put out there by California even before the Threatened and Endangered Species Act back in the 70s. And that act was not only for this fish, but it was for some amphibians, fish, amphibians, reptiles, and birds, I think, are on that list. And so that list is very protected, and some would say almost too protected, because the challenge with that is that what we found out about when we were trying to do a project was that the fish, it was very difficult to get an agreement with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, which we are under. We are under the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, being tribal trust land, not California Fish and Game. We're not under them. We're under the federal government. So you would think, going back to the federal government, dealing with the federal endangered species, we could come up with a way to bring the fish onto the reservation to help them. But it turns out it's never that simple, right? So what we learned is that the fish is actually on this other list. It's the California Fully Protected list. So what does that mean? So it basically means that you can't really have any protections or give your neighbors any protections, the people that live next to you, no matter what land they're on, that they're not going to violate that law. If they want to clean their ditches, they want to do anything, they have a take. Take is the word in the law for killing. If you take one animal, you kill it. And so, even inadvertently, so even if you're trying to raise a bunch of animals and increase their population, increase their well-being, right? In the process of doing that, you get kind of collateral damage. There's one or two that just aren't going to make it based on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to raise a worm farm and you step on the worm, one worm's going to die, but you're going to have all these worms, right? So same thing with the pupfish. We were up against this, and still are, this California Fully Protected Act. If those fish swim off the reservation, which they can, which they would be if we had them, which we don't. If they swam off the reservation and were killed by a backhoe of someone trying to just clean their ditches so they can get the water to the garden or to LA or wherever it's going to go, that could be a fine. That could be a serious fine. And it's called incidental take. You're killing it incidentally. So without a specific type of another law, that there's a concern out there by somebody where that fish could swim to, that they wouldn't be able to be, they would be fined by the people that would find them. In this case, off the reservation here is California, under California law. So we had all these plans several years ago working with the state, and the plans one day, we were working on these plans, and we had some seed funding from the Bureau of Reclamation, and one day I got a phone call, and they said, how about, that project you've been working on, that you've been, had some plans, and how about what if we said that we could fund the whole thing, just fund it? I said, well, that'd be great, that'd be awesome. I said, well, we think we can do it. So it was this thing called the American Reorganization Reinvestment Act, the Stimulus Act. It was under President Obama. And $1 million. So we got $1 million. Wow, $1 million. That's great. So we got busy right away. Oh, you got to do it like a year and a half. Okay. And so we never managed a project like that. But we tried it, and I think we did it. In addition to we designed 4 ponds. We did 2 of them. We put in a lot of pipe to bring and reuse some of this water, this irrigation water that the tribe has as part of this land exchange agreement that we got back in the 30s. So we put in this pipe, and we put in a lot of trail, which is really cool. We have 2,500 linear feet of trail coming from this museum right out the back door. You can walk out there, down into the area, and to the 2 ponds. And so that's what we did. We put in a lot of infrastructure, and we were getting ready to actually bring the fish here. And what happened was we had actually the assistant secretary of the Department of Interior actually came here for the opening celebration. And Phil Easter, who was with the California Fish and Game, who had done a lot of work out in Fish Slough, he was here. And the guy from the Bureau of Reclamation in LA, he was here. It was a big thing, and then we were hoping to bring some of these fish from Fish Slough and Warm Springs and agglomerate them basically in a bucket and put them in the pond before that event, or maybe even during the event. The idea was to bring some of these fish from the different sites, and so mix their genetics back again and put them in the pond. So, because what happens is, my understanding, I'm not a fish biologist, but the people that I've been working with have been telling me that that's part of the issue with the extinction issue, is that they're fragmented. They need to be brought back together again so their genetics can mix and they become more viable and produce more, and then you can put them out in these conservation areas. But what happened was that our neighboring landowners brought up an issue in saying that there's this other law saying, that basically if this fish was introduced and it could eventually swim down and go off the reservation, they would be cited. So it's like, okay, so we held off, and we came up with kind of a two-pronged pathway of solution. One was to try to create a physical barrier to keep the fish from swimming off the reservation. And if any, is this water resources?
Yeah.
Yes. So maybe some of you can help me with this, because that now out of Fish Slough, they have an upstream fish barrier. What we have to do here is called a downstream fish barrier. Now out of Fish Slough is where they've lived for years, and they have the water comes straight out of the ground in the spring. It's called Nealon Spring, and it flows maybe a couple hundred feet, and it goes across a weir and a fish barrier, so the fish can't jump up it. There's like some physical grates there, and so the fish can't come up it. The fish meaning the introduced fish, the game fish. So the trout, the German brown trout, rainbow trout, even bass, which isn't, they're all introduced species. So that's pretty simple in terms of keep the stream clean, make sure there's enough barrier the fish can't go up. But here we're dealing with a situation where the fish would be at elevation higher than off reservoir. So we had to come up with something, and we still haven't. We're in the process of doing this now. Come up with a device that would keep the fish in the pond to keep them from swimming off. Now, if it's going downstream, they will just go right over that little waterfall and just go downstream. So there's nothing keeping them. The only thing that you can do is put a barrier. But when you put a barrier there, it's going to bury all that stuff that's in the pond, and it's going to create a big clog. It will stop the water, and then the water will overflow and go around, and then the fish will swim out that way. So you have to devise something that is small enough. And, well, how small, we asked them. Okay, well, we're thinking, a fish, about this big. It's like, no. You got to go down to the fish fry. Well, how big are the fish fry? I mean, they're like that big. And what about the eggs? Like, well, how big are the eggs? Well, they're about 0.5 millimeter. It's like, oh, geez. It's like, so we have to make a filter that will filter out 0.5 millimeter and keep it clean. So all this water was like, okay, well, that's going to be a challenge. It's going to be expensive. It's going to take maintenance. And it's kind of silly, because what you're trying to do is just protect the fish. You're trying to bring them back. Why do we get, because we're not worried about the one backhoe accidentally killing that one fish down here. We're trying to make the whole population big enough. Does that make sense? So we decided, okay, we'll try that. We'll try to do a filter. It's going to be a challenge. And also, we'll try this law. Okay, what about this law? This seems kind of silly, having this law to basically protecting them from death, it seems like. So we waded into this issue that people have been basically at loggerheads over for years, for all the different species, and people just really, the California, the Fish and Wildlife, and the environmental groups, and people that are staff in the California Fish and Game, who just kind of roll their eyes. It seems like they don't have the ability to change the law. The people that we've been working with here, they know the problems of the law, but someone else outside has to do it. Someone else outside their organization, they can't do it. They can come and kind of like say, yeah, this is probably good, it's consistent, when it comes up to the actual lawmaking process, but they can't really they're stuck, the staff is stuck with just this, wouldn't it be great if one day we could do this? But now we can't. So we said, well, that's going to be a bigger challenge. I don't know if we can do it too much. But we're a tribal government. We're outside the tribe, so maybe there's something where the tribe, being a tribal government in California, could have some sway in changing that. So it turned out there was an opportunity to talk with the legislator, and we kind of casually started talking to them, and it turned out to be actually the right time to talk to them because they got interested in it. And so it kind of took a life of its own and took a lot of my time. And it was introduced finally into the legislature by Assemblyman Devin Mathis. And it just took a lot of time. Went through the House, to the Senate, to the House. And it was basically on one word. It was to, I can't even remember the word right now, but it was like one word, and it was basically, it's all out there in the hallway. There's a law out there you can see, but it basically finally was passed, and they came here and had like a ceremony and everything. And basically that was it. What the upshot was it enabled this fish to have a safe harbor agreement, like that we were going to do with the federal government anyway, but like we'd already actually drafted it. I think I'm going to share it with you, but lengthy agreement. So okay, now what the law apparently did was it made it possible for this one species to have a safe harbor agreement for that one species. So it's possible for someone that has private land in California to initiate that. The tribe isn't a private landowner in California. So we're in a situation now with that. The status is that there has been no, it's been discussed, but as of right now, there's no safe harbor agreement been applied for by the off-reservation landowner that could protect them from these fish that would swim off the reservation if we introduce them. So it's like we've tried to make this, we've made it possible for landowners to do that within the area where the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the California Fish and Wildlife Service have decided that these fish in the conservation recovery plans, each one has a recovery, like a recovery, species recovery plan they call it, would be, which is basically Owens Valley for the Owens pupfish. So they have these plans. So anyone, if you own land somewhere in private land in the county here, you could apply. So that's where we're at right now. We have a fish filter that we're ready to install, and we have this law that hasn't been adopted yet. The law's been adopted, but the permit hasn't been applied for by our off-reservation entity, which is DWP. Back to the filter, we have a filter. It was a pretty impressive thing. I wish I could have it here for you to see because it's pretty cool looking. It was, we learned about it through California Fish and Wildlife. It's not a filter like you think, like an air filter or something like that. Stands about that high. It's about this big. It's stainless steel, and it has slots, 0.5 millimeter slots. Remember the egg side? 0.5 millimeter slots, which is about the, you can't get much thinner than that with a stainless steel thing. So it has, it's on an axle, and it has an external brush, like a big hairy brush that's on the outside of it that runs vertically, and there's a brush inside of it, like a big bottle brush, like a stiff bottle brush. And it has a hydraulic motor in it, run by hydraulic oil. And a line going out to some solar panels. So the idea is, it's this big device, and the thing rotates, and when it's turned on, it rotates, and when it rotates, the brush inside and the brush outside scrape along the slots and supposedly clean it. And you can set it so it will go like once a day or every couple days or whatever. And then when it's not cleaning itself, the water can go through it and out the bottom and out, a couple 3-inch hoses. So what we're going to do is install that in the Hudson River, apparently, covered with barnacles. And so I guess they pick it out, and this firm that does these sort of fish barrier projects, they're specialty firms for everything they do screens, and so they got a hold of it and they cleaned it up. It looks great, and we tested it. We put the solar panels on it, and the thing rotates. It's pretty cool. So that's a project that we're Rachel and Tom and I are working on getting that thing in the ground, and hopefully, so one of our routes forward is this physical barrier, this downstream water barrier, not this upstream water barrier. So it's much difficult. And then the law, one thing with the law, we're thinking like, well, if we can get over this hump with EWP, and they can, and we haven't given up yet. I mean, we're still working on it, obviously. But it could be a model for other private landowners in Owens Valley to say, hey, I've got a pond in my backyard, why not me? I mean, there's ponds all over West Bishop with all the water, why not? The only thing it can't be used for is mitigation projects, unfortunately. So all the things that EWP has for mitigation for the aqueduct. So that was one of the one thing I learned about in the lawmaking process is there's all these concessions that make as it goes, and it's just really unnerving. They call you up. It's like, well, you got to change this one word, or it's not going to go through. It's like, well, change the word. It's like you got to. But then you see it just, the power of it just kind of diminishes. So anyway, hopefully EWP will, complete all their mitigation projects and try to use some of the great habitat that they have for some of these fish, because there's a lot of opportunity. They're going to go extinct. That's pretty much the point of it. Harry was just telling me that the pond that Rachel looks at after the BLM spring, it looks like just recently every once in a while someone will throw a bass in there. Just throw a bass. It just comes out of nowhere, and the bass will just do a number on. So that's what happened again. The California Fish and Wildlife, they respond. There's a guy, Steve, who goes out there with a spear gun and jumps in there and he swims around and spears it. But I don't know if the guy has it or but yeah, so it's that critical, because that is like BLM Spring is like the main place where the fish live. Before they were at Warm Springs, I'd sent there's a guy who wrote a book, Christopher Mornet. I never met him, but he wrote a chapter in the book. The beautiful, the Surviving Onslaught was the chapter of the book. Anyway, if you read that chapter, it really talks about that other place I was just telling you about, the Warm Springs area by Big Pine. And the fish aren't in there anymore. The EWP said, take them out. We're not going to. It was all because of that law. It's all because of the California fully protected law and how they got out and got fined for their escaping fish. And at that time, they didn't have this law that the tribe worked on. So DWP had actually made a pond especially for the pupfish, which was really cool. They had done that. But then this law loomed, and someone felt like they had to enforce the law, I guess, and DWP said, fine, let's get them out of here. So they took them out. I guess they went back to the fish slough, which they are, and we go out to Warm Springs, there's no fish. Now they could be put back out there again. And DWP could use that law, the one that we worked on, to help protect them. So, but as far as I've heard, they haven't done that. And that was the hope, and I think that California Fish and Wildlife locally is working with them to try to do that. That and here, but it's a slow process. So, is there anything else is that kind of what you wanted?
Yeah, I think that's a really important story. I do have a question though. So if you're able to protect the fish, keep them in the pond with the stainless steel tubes, actually your filter system,
Yeah.
how do you handle the big debris that does need to go downstream? Will you physically pull all that big stuff out so it's
Yes.
not caught up on the stainless steel?
And that's a good question. And if it was a bigger pond and a bigger like a creek, you know, that would be more of an issue. And so, you know, like if someone wanted to do that, like take our model, what we're trying to do, and do, you know, that's, of course they have different size filters, but you'll see this pond is pretty small. And that's a good question. The filter is actually oversized. I can't remember the gallons per minute, but it's way more than, it's sized for more flow than what we're providing. The source of the water, that might be a question when you walk down there, is the source of the water comes from a drain system that was put in the 30s, because this area was pretty kind of swampy when they did the land exchange, and so the water, we tried to reuse some of that water, this underground naturally occurring drain water, so that's where it's coming from. We have another line in there in case for climate change, if it ever dries, if it ever gets to a point where it needs more water and the fish are like dying, we have another, we installed a parallel line from our irrigation system, which comes out of the creek. That they could, the tribal irrigator is a narrow, twist a valve and put water down there. And that right now, if you go down to the water that's coming in, the reason why there's not much flow is we're just using our natural drain water, which is great.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I'm going to hand it off to Harry here.
One thing I'd like to mention though is we need help in getting the fish over there because U.S. Fish and Wildlife haven't given us the water. So we could like to contact Assemblyman, Congressman, whoever, pushing forward because we have fish got killed off over the BLM springs. If they die, there won't be any fish. There's a few other places where it's a lot harder. So we need the fish down here, and then we can have them in our tanks so we can actually see.
Any other questions?
Come on, you guys gotta be.
Okay.
No, I have a question. Should we ask? Question.
Yeah.
You might have mentioned it, and maybe I didn't pick it up. But what is like the big, like, I don't know, don't want to say it too harshly, but like, why do we care about the pupfish specifically? Is it like, does it do something like environmentally, or does it have like a cultural like importance, or what? Why are we focused on the pupfish?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's always comes back to, you know, when you're doing a lot of effort on something, you kind of circle back and go, well, I have all these other things I need to be working on. You know, that's part of one of the reasons why, you know, I guess we could be a little bit farther ahead in the project than we are. That, you know, we have, you know, in our program as I was telling you, we have air, water, and all these things happening. But the endangerment of species, any species, I think is important. Something that's critical like this. And also, it's doubly important to me because the Paiute, it was an important species to them in their past. I don't think it's not, or you could say it's not used as a main.
It's one of our main food sources.
Okay.
You know, I mean, if you ask, well, why should I care about something? I could turn around and say, why should I care about the genocide of all these people in the world? Once you stop caring, you stop caring. Then you just start caring about just my little thing, my little area. Well, the whole world is dying and we're going to die. That simple. You stop caring then.
It's a good question, and it's coming back to you know, and the pupfish are not the only species in the Owens Valley that are, you know, there's the bighorn sheep, and, you know, some of the others. The milk vetch is a plant that lives in the fish slough area. It's a plant. With me in my job here, it was an opportunity to use an area that we set aside basically for mitigation purposes. The tribe has a housing shortage here, a very severe housing shortage, even though there's like a big reservation, there's a lot of people in homes. So land is a real prime thing here. And so having 25 acres that were set aside that we could do to, you know, to bring some species back to health, to do anything, really is kind of something that we don't want to miss, you know, to use that. So I think that's pretty much why
You guys have funding. Talk about you designed 4 ponds and built 2. I'm wondering what was the main limiting factor when building those ponds?
The availability of water, we didn't know when we had we had a pretty short time frame, a lot of money, a lot of uncertainty. We designed the ponds in places where we thought we could bring the water with the pipes. You know, the pipes were in a certain area for a certain reason, and so the ponds and the lay of the land kind of dictated. The original idea was, we didn't even put the pond in the original location where I had the original idea to put the pond. It's near it, but it's not the same place. And so we were just going to do one pond, but then as the project unfolded, we said, well, we have a little more money than we thought. Let's try to at least design ponds. So if we get more water comes to us, then we can put those ponds in when we know that we can sustain them. With the time we had, we were able to do the one pond that we really wanted to do, and then we got a second pond done, which is actually called pond number 3. So pond number 2 and 4. Well, they're from the west, east, from the west to east, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we ended up doing 1 and 3 just because they seem more, they're close to the water sources, they're close to where the piping could be best done. And so far everything's been working pretty good. We've been using the water from the drain in the summertime. And then in the wintertime, we use we have a system set up so if the water dries up in the summertime in the pond from the drain line that goes down. If you walk down the trail, there's a water line, a 10-inch water line that goes right underneath that trail all the way down. And that water line has turnouts from it, and one of those turnouts goes to the pond number 3. So in the summertime, we'll use that quite a bit. But then in the wintertime, sometimes that goes away. In the summertime, don't get confused. In the summertime, it dries up. So that's the time that we have the ditch water, and it's located to a ditch, and we bring water from here. So far it's worked pretty good. We've been able to get the pond stay full, throughout the season. So we have the capability to bring the water in from both. And since actually the tribe just belongs to a consortium called Paiute Indian Health Project. It's a health clinic, and they recently built a new health clinic down in Paiute-Shoshone. Beautiful health clinic, huge. And in doing that, they actually was like, well, what's this going to do to the costa? Well, in the last couple of years, we found out it's actually increased water to the costa because they put in drain lines. And so you go down there now and see places that weren't flooded when we put the trails in are now flooded. But it was like, well, gosh, that past flooding and all that. And you come back to the purpose of the project was like, well, if we want to make more wetlands, it's wetter. I think that's good. I mean, we have a health clinic now, which is good. We have more water, that's good. So, we'll have to pump fish, but, and we have some trail, we're going to be putting new trails, so we have new grant from Bureau Reclamation, and we're going to be installing new trail and completing the loop that we planned with the initial project. So if you go down there now, the trail ends, but soon that trail is going to loop all the way around. It's going to connect to another trail that the city of Bishop is installing. If you look at the paper lately, they're getting towards the end of where they need to start building it. So kids from the reservation will be able to walk right to the bus loop, station, Elm Street School, and people can walk downtown. So that's does that answer?
Thank you.
Another question?
Is it difficult to see if the ponds have been infiltrated by the sea bass? Is it like easy, difficult?
Now, I don't have any personal experience in that. That is an issue with, not here, but out in the fish slough on the tablelands. And it's happened several times, I know, in the past. And yeah, I think it's just a first one inspection, they see these bass, and then they'll go out and try to eradicate them, usually with a spear gun.
Well, so I go out there every week to check to see if any bass are included. So the water is very clear, so it's quite easy to see into, but there are a lot of shaded areas that are tough to see. The easy thing about it is that like pupfish are about this big, and so any other fish, like bass, are going to be quite obvious because, like, I think even as fry, they're about 4 inches long, so any larger fish is a problem. So I haven't seen any yet, and I think it's fine because I see the pupfish, and so they're still there, a couple of them. And I've heard with the bass last year, it was hard to find because it just was able to hide in like the shaded areas when they went out to look for it. And so it got quite a few of the pupfish before they were able to find it. So that's why they have people like me that who go out there every week, and they've trained together quite a few like citizen scientists to just kind of go in there when they can to check to see if they spot anything they notice.
Question about the fish filter. Are they looking at the pond there?
The
The fish filter?
Oh, the fish filter.
The pond?
It hasn't been installed yet. You'll see where we are going to install it. The solar panels are up there now, so you'll see those, but we haven't.
Are they going to catch fish eggs? Or like game fish eggs?
So the one that we have, so there's no game fish. Well, that's not true. We did find one rainbow trout on 3 when we had 7th grade. Every year in May, we have the 7th grade biology teacher at Home Street School. They bring their class over, and we take a big net, like a 100-foot net, and it's called a seine net. It has weights on the bottom, and we go all the way along the bottom, and we gather the fish up, and the kids count them, and they weigh them. They bring a microscope. It's really pretty cool. But that was the only place that we found the rainbow trout, because we figure it came in through the ditches. There's a ditch system, the Drew ditch, that partially brings water into Pond 3. And so that was kind of a surprise. But in Pond 1, where the pupfish are going to go, there's no fish in there. The only thing that's really in that pond are there's frogs, the Pacific tree frog, a lot of frogs, and we have we're lucky to have quite a show of dragonflies in the spring. We're actually told that we have a pretty good collection of interesting dragonflies by a local expert. They're taking a lot of pictures of it and stuff.
So the filter does catch the eggs, or is there like a plan to salvage them, or?
No. It would be they would basically be killed probably with the bottle brush. But then that brings to a point of incidental take. So we would be protected from incidental take with a federal safe harbor agreement for an egg, if one egg was killed. So there has been some debate on whether the bottle brush would actually push the egg through the slot. But then, you know, when you're on these meetings with the folks that are concerned about this, you just stop and go, well, what are we afraid of here? You know, we're afraid of like one, you know, this is getting kind of, we're talking splitting hairs in the law, I'm not sure, but that 0.5 millimeter, you know, the eggs are, I think, a little bit bigger than 0.5 millimeter, like about a millimeter. We were going to try we have a sample screen here, a well screen, that has a 0.5 millimeter slot, that we were going to try to do an experiment with killifish. It's from Africa, actually. We had some African killifish in this tank factory, which is very similar to a pupfish, and to do an experiment to see if those eggs would go through that screen. Now, they shouldn't go through because they're about a millimeter, and the screen is a 0.5 millimeter. But I think one biologist here, Steve, another also fishing, he suggested that could be done, and still can be done if anyone wants to experiment. But it's you know, it's they probably won't go through, but if they're forced through with a brush, they can possibly force through or kill them. So frogs get it. Yeah. So, but then in this instance out here, after the water, after that egg went out, it would have to go all the way. It would have to either hatch into, have the right conditions to hatch into a pupfish right there, and swim all the way through the wetlands, you know, all the way down and off. And that would take years probably to establish a population like that. Which, you know, we would be able to have some sort of monitoring. We'd be able to, because it would go into the pond 3 before it went off the reservation, so we would be able to, there would be multiple places along the way we could monitor to see if the fish are coming or not, just go right there, right on. You know, we'd be able to tell. One last question? Okay, well, thank you very much. Oh, no?
Are there any internship opportunities or potential employment for, you know, recent graduates within your office or anything environmentally related down the community?
Not currently, but it's a great question, and if there is somebody that's interested, you know, for something either as a project within the school that you're in, you know, like like some sort of a thesis project or something like that, if you have that, or you know, just if you find interest in our project, any certain aspect of it, want to talk to me, you know, there's always ways. You know, I've been through the school system, I know there's always challenges to find projects and something with some of them. But, you know, we do have a summer internship program. It's pretty much geared towards the travel young adults, but you know, I would say we work in partnership with a lot of agencies, you know, and it wouldn't even have to be through the actual tribe. A lot of times things come through us from other agencies, like the California Fish and Game. They have, you know, I think they have internships, and so it's usually you're working in triangles and things, you know, it's not just between, there's you know, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So if someone's interested in this project or has a certain aspect, you know, talk to me about it.
Call it decades, but that's how life is. And you guys are a younger generation. And I really like that question when you said, why should you care about something? I thought about that thing all my life. Because people didn't care about me when I was little, but I survived. I was always called an anomaly. You shouldn't be the way you are. And I didn't care because I was just me. I cared. when I was a coach or the captain of my team, our fans over there going, why do you guys like, or why do you guys do that? Somebody, his brother, asked me, why do you guys like carrying these? He goes, we always won. I was carried by everybody in my little team. The little guys that nobody would pick, I pick them. Because nobody would ever watch them and play football, give time, throw the ball, they catch it, they score it. They're, you know, you care because, why wouldn't you? You're human beings. If you're not a human being, I guess you don't care. And then, you know, I have to look at it as, why should I care about you? I'm also a cultural monitor and an archaeological technician. I worked at China Lake, you get past it on the way here, Naval Air Weapons Station. For 2 summers, for 6 weeks of summer, we surveyed the entire area. You guys don't realize Owens River, Paiute-Shoshone, that's our name for it. We're trying to change the name back. Owens Valley, we call it Paiute-Shoshone. And the river was called Paiute-Shoshone. But it flowed 14,000 years ago all the way to Death Valley. And then it, about 13,000 years ago, dried up. Took China Lake 3,000 years for it to completely dry up. But I've been able to, while studying the surveying area, talk to the archaeologists, so I learned a lot about myself. Also taught them a lot about the valley that I knew around here. And that's where I got involved in 96 with Noah, where he doesn't know it. And, that's where I really became an environmentalist, hardcore. Because at that time, when the lake was blowing off so much dust, we couldn't see the mountains. You have a brand new little sun, and it's like, damn, I gotta fight for you because you can't breathe there. And then I had another little friend, she was in Lone Pine, and the doctors just straight off told her, there's so much dust, you better move or your baby's gonna die. And I kind of looked at, God, I better help out Noah. Then the next day I said, no, I can't just do it for him, I have to do it for his friends too. That was 23 years ago. But then we had a meeting in Crawl Lake, and one of my friends brought their little baby. I said, I'm also doing it for her. I'm also doing it for her grandkids. And I'm also on the California EPA Tribal Advisory Committee. We get to meet with all the BDOs, the Board of Directors of every department of health in the EPA, air, waters, soils, pesticides, and a couple other. But we meet with them and we get to give them advice. I'm kind of loud with them. I asked one guy, this other lady, why'd you shut up? Because I just come listen to Harry. Because I asked our chairman, I said, am I talking too much? He goes, no, I like what you say to him. You gotta see the expressions. So I just say what's on my mind, you know, and I'm not shy about talking to high up officials. They're nothing to me, they're just another person. They have credentials, but they also have a lot of employees that they can direct and move and get things done. I was also involved in fighting for the Owens Lake. For Yucca Mountain, I was our representative from the Bishop Tribe. I just say what's on my mind. But they ended up changing it. Now they're trying to change it back. But there's a lot of stuff I've been involved with because I started off caring about my boy and his friends and then the rest of the world. Because I started learning more and more. And some of the smallest things in the world because of evolution. 4.5 billion years ago, the world survived. Today they're finding out bacteria that can come from like meteorites and stuff. They live through the most harshest conditions. That could be an argument for pro-con, I don't really care. We've all evolved into our little niches in life, like the pupfish. How did they get here? What was their use? Well, at one time there was only 3 little tiny fish and a sucker that lived around here. Well, my people killed them and dried them for the summers and they'd use them for food. So I have to care. They're part of my culture, my history. And all throughout the world, if you killed off all the plankton in the world, they're the biggest makers of oxygen. Kill an ocean, let's see how long we live. Or maybe the capitalists will turn around and go, hey, I can sell you some oxygen. That's why I look at capitalism. They want to study everything. And then when we talk about water rights, that's what our valley was about. About 1885, Mulholland, Eaton, and Lippincott. They were representatives of LA. Eaton was the mayor. Mulholland was a self-taught engineer. They come up here because LA could only grow to 250,000 people. And all of a sudden they said, well, there's some water up there. They brought Mulholland up and he goes, I can take it. You could take the LA on gravity flow. That was in 2000, or 1907. 2014, when a 100-year celebration. Some of us from the Owens Valley Committee and local environmentalists went down there, and you celebrate while we protest. We protested because they're still taking water out of this area. And they're water rights. Those are man-made water rights. Those aren't evolutionary water rights or geological time. We're all kind of symbiotic lifestyle. We all live and evolve in one area. But right now, I look at LA, it's just a big monster that keeps wanting and wanting and wanting. Givers give and takers take. Takers want to take because they're so used to it. That's how I look at LA. You guys met them the other day, and they all know me very well. I was trying to be my friends, but they're not my friends. But I know some of them pretty well. But you know, I also will fight against them. I'll tell them the truth. I was on the Owens Valley Committee for 20 years. I finally just resigned in 2016 because they weren't fighting the fight I wanted to fight. It became like a civic club, and I kind of got tired of keeping arguing. Because our lawyer said, you guys are perfect for a public trust lawsuit. Because in 1991, the long-term water agreement was passed as a law, and it still hasn't been fully implemented. All these mitigations, over 30 mitigation projects haven't been done. And every time they do a mitigation project, they don't, all those mitigation projects need water. So as long as they don't do them, they get the water. Since about 2010, 2011, they've used the term in the technical group meeting, the standing committee meetings, it's our water, we're never going to give it up. And a lot of people just don't understand what they're saying. They're sick telling you the truth right to your face. It's our water, I don't care what you do. We got 30, 40 lawyers on the 13th to 14th floor of LA on Hope Street that they're building. That's not counting the city attorneys. It used to be Arthur Waltz, now it's David, I can't remember his last name, something David. But that's their intent. And their excuse, we need jobs, we need growth. Well, how damn big is that monster going to get? How much is it going to want? How much? It's destroying the earth. Biggest problem Earth's got is the overpopulation of humans. Because they keep wanting, demanding. We're going to have wars. Well, we're going to want so much oil. They dig it up death. You guys got to realize what oil is. Millions and millions of years ago, all these dead things got squashed and the geologists crushed them up. Now we're going down. But what you dig it up is death. We're getting plastics and all this stuff. In geologic time, we're just a couple minutes old. And what's the effect we've had on the world? We're killing it. And one of the things I said, I got invited to the climate change thing last year in San Francisco. I got to meet with people all around the world. They were on the same town, but I was a little loud guy. I get the right in LA, a bigger forum. But a lot of them used it because when you're affecting the entire world, if we have glacier melt, then you got to realize weight distribution. We're at a wobble. Let's get rid of that wobble and see how we wobble again. Then we'll have big giant earthquakes and all this stuff. And it's just going to happen, man. The world decides to change. It's going to do it. Not going to ask you or me, can we do it? They're just going to do it. The world is the world. Mother Nature. She'll live at you. Then you killed off all my little buddies, all my little beings that I've created over time. Killed them off, so you're the pestilence. So we have to look at it. As man becomes the pestilence of the world, I'd say, yeah. You can argue and say, oh, no. My religion says we're the greatest. Yeah, right. Did the dinosaurs have a religion? Boy, man's arrogance says, no, mine's better than yours, so let's have a fight. Let's kill each other. Because my God's better than yours. Mother is just sitting there going, who are you? I've only been here for a little while. Dinosaurs got copies. Ask the Lord. There's a lot of ways we can die, but if you want to live the longest, you have to evolve with this, every little animal. So you got me fired up when you asked me, why should I care?
Wait, can I clarify?
Why not?
Because I care, and we're all biologists and scientists, and so I wanted to know your spiel. What do you tell people who don't know, who don't know the animals?
But, I needed that.
Okay.
Cousin birthday last week, and I talked to them, a lot of times I ask, we go around and ask which department you're from, because I'm in Americorp, it's sort of they have to take an Americorp class. And the engineers, I look at them, I talked to them before about morality and engineering. But I also was in this documentary called Paiute, and Jenna's boyfriend, Chris Morrow, he was an engineer, so I got to practice on him. Because engineers, I look at them as kind of beavers, you sort of build. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, depends on what you are. And it's just interesting, 'cause I'm glad you did that, because I was kind of bored over here. And my energy was, what? But I needed that this morning. But people like me, it took me a while, matured later in life, lived my life, carpentry and all these other stuff. But then when I had Noah, I lived the world at a bigger thing, but I've always liked the environment. Literally, I grew up on the street right up here. This across the street, that was my playground. We didn't have phones, we didn't have all this stuff. I tried to chase my brother or 5 other brothers around. They would try to lose me, my little older brother. They'd take off, and they went out to babysit us, so we'd try to catch them. But we'd play around in places, live in the tule fields where we'd go there and play around and knock all the tules down and float on the water and just play. But now the tules have turned to dust, because LA, as you grow up here, you kind of realize a lot of stuff. My lifetime is, when I was young, we'd rabbit hunt, we'd be out by the Laws area, and I'd ask my people, why are these big old stumps out here? Because there were big cottonwood stumps. And they'd go, there used to be a forest of cottonwood trees out here. But when LA started pumping the area out, they killed them. And so they pushed them all in piles and burned them. It took them a while to burn them, but then I started realizing, man, how many more rabbits and animals lived out here when you got a big cottonwood forest. Well, it's not out there no more, and that's one of the heaviest places being pumped. And then when I joined the Owens Valley Committee, I had Daniel Pritchard, you guys have met, Michael Prather, Mark Bagley, Sally Manning, all these other people. We care about this area. And then I asked him one day, he said, this is my homeland. That's why I need to care about it. And I said, you guys, and then Daniel and a couple of them said, I'm not going, I'll be buried up the hill too. And I said, well, it's your homeland now, that's why you care for it. And other people don't look at the world that way. That's why you need to know where you came from. If you can't, start making that area your homeland. Start caring for things. Because that word care and hope, those are my favorite words. Hope is a good one. Because sometimes I run out of hope, and I say, one of my friends has hope. Actually, she told me that it's her favorite word in the world. So sometimes I have to kind of reinvigorate myself, because it's tough when you go to places. And then when I went over to the water pavilion during the National Climate, or International, that Governor Brown put on, I was a replacement, but I was like, I gotta go. There'll be people from like New Zealand. One of the parliamentary guys was there. But he was the one that made the motion that made a river have human rights. And that was really interesting to listen to him say that. Because all he did was say, yeah, people thought I was crazy when I did that parliament, give rights to a river. But then it got backed up, and it passed. So this right, there's like three Aboriginal people, probably the Maoris or other people. Every time they think that this river is endangered, its life is being threatened as a river, that they can go to Parliament and have it enforced. And other people are thinking the same thing around the world. Because growing up, first time I went to LA was 1964. I didn't know LA had mountains. I literally just kind of, everything was gray as far as you could see. And then when the Owens Lake was blowing off so much dust, I said, God, this is the same thing. But the Clean Air Act, you guys don't realize US EPA had to sue the state of California, threatened to sue them. Well, it started off the Lopine tribe. The tribes were told by the EPA's commissioner of region 9, that's California, Nevada, Arizona, and Guam, Hawaii, all this other territory. They just said, sue us. So we have to enforce Clean Air Act. The Lone Pine Tribe, Sandra Jefferson, she finally signed the paper, and then US EPA determined us to California, if you don't enforce the Clean Air Act, we're taking away your highway funds. Instantly, next day, they were ordered to fix it. Same with the Owens River project. I was in court when Judge Cooper was I was on the Valley Committee. We finally were told to sue. We finally sued. It was in court. Judge Cooper balled us out. First comments were, you guys wanted to be a signatory on the long-term water agreement or an MOU? And then we just kind of, he balled us out. What took you so long? It took you 11 years. You guys were supposed to be the watchdog, make sure this law was enforced. And they balled us out. They looked at LA. It was like, Jude, if you don't finish by November, I'm shutting down the second aqueduct. Talk about LA, just went quiet. They did it. They always complain about, we don't have the money, we don't have the employees. I always reminded of that. Remember the Owens River project? They even had one of their favorite, he was the president of the Cattlemen's Association. They were their biggest supporters all the time. He was all, he had his horses down there. I laughed around and go, shit, I should put a little fundraiser for us so Scott, we can buy galoshes for his cattle because their feet are getting wet. He was saying that, it's going to affect me on my food for my cattle. Shit, it's going to raise the groundwater table and he can get more food, more feed for his livestock. I've did tours of it since then. They got tree frogs all the way down there. It's changed the whole environment. And it goes to below the Alabama gates. You guys visited them, I guess, yesterday?
Right.
Well, below there, what's it called? Islands or something, I think it's called below there. The oxygen level is so low because it goes so slow. Perfect habitat for buckfish. Because, it's what Mother Nature does. She creates different areas. They could put buckfish in there to live. But they were saying, no, now they got the local people, which isn't a bad idea, kind of. They want to kayak through the area, so they've been going through there, cutting their own trail. Good or bad, humans always got to get involved with something, nature will take care of it. And then the Owens dry lake, all the water goes down there, you guys use the pump back station. We had to sue DWP because they wanted to increase the size of the pump back station. I can't remember what the volume is right now. But we had to worry about them opening up a whole new well fields in the area too. Because it was agreed upon, then they wanted to make them bigger. Then we had to worry about, they go in there and just pump the hell out of the area and do a whole new well field. So we sued them, finally with the court, and they weren't allowed to have bigger pump back station, which is a good thing. They use most of the water on the lake. I understand about water a lot because I was forced to learn about it. And being on the Valley Committee, people always brought in the latest facts and arguments, and we discussed them. I had to give them hell one night because this one guy there said, you guys can out-reason yourself why we're suing in the first place. You guys get too reasonable. One little argument got a little bit better. Next thing you know, our reason for doing, fighting against pump back station, they almost talked themselves into it. But me and a couple of other guys, we don't have the big college diplomas, know all those big words, so I had to kind of settle them down and say, hey, our reasons for doing it is just that one reason. You guys keep trying to out-reason yourself, you're going to pretty soon you're going to be on their side. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I resigned, because we had a public trust, because what was that Scotts Valley Agreement, where a river or a creek was influencing groundwater because the water was so porous. And our lawyer just kept saying, sue just enforce, completely enforce the long-term water agreement. And now we have the SIGMA going on, Ground Sustainability Act, groundwater systems. That thing's going on. And so they created a new little board. And I keep telling them, God, just keep saying, because they adjudicated the long-term water agreement as adjudication for Inyo County in Owens Valley. And if they enforce the long-term water agreement, I'd have no problem. Well, they would create this new organization, and they gotta do all the groundwork, like it's already been done. Just saying you enforce the long-term water agreement, I'd be happy. But now they're at the bottom levels and they're already given to it. It's kind of like, I went to a California Water Resources Control Board meeting. I showed a Paiute, it's a documentary we did about our aging irrigation ditches. And they were really interested. And they don't like LA either sometimes. But they just keep saying, they try to act like their own state. They make their own rules. I mean, they don't have to follow rules. And they don't matter because they're just like, you gotta understand LA. They're greedy, they're capitalists. It's like they're the most important city in the world. How many of you guys from LA? Slap on your guys. There's lots of stuff that you guys didn't know. But I've also dealt with the tree people along this water, walked along there, the water, a couple of years ago. I'd go visit them. It's fun to meet the tree people. Never thought I'd be accused as a hugger, tree hugger. I said, no, I climb trees, I don't hug them. I might have to hug them to hang on. But that's about it. But I care about a lot of things. I just have more than care, I like that. And you guys probably wouldn't be in this class if you didn't care. You gotta care about your, I finally, like I told them the story, you know, I basically got to become an environmentalist because you were bored, because you couldn't see the mountain. But in the long run, I lived through other tribes at 7 generations. I gotta care about them. And then this last year, this guy brought his baby to one of our meetings. And I said, I gotta care about her. It got me excited again. Look, that's the reason why I'm doing it. Because I care about everybody. Way back there.
What would you say is the future that you're trying to build for your community, for this place?
Just awareness of all, especially young people, that when I was young, everybody wanted to be a millionaire. Now everybody wants to be billionaires, but when they become billionaires, they all want to be like kings, treated like kings. We're surround myself with yes men, and they got to do what I do. But they don't care about the little people, the animals. And that's what I want people is just start caring. That's why I got excited when you said care. It's just care about each other. Because around the world, like in the Amazon, they don't care about those tribes in there. Those people want to be uncontacted. And you can't really go contact them because a simple cold will snuff them all out. And then we became overpopulated so bad that a lot of it has to do with religion, saying, oh, I just want to go forth and prosper and have as many kids as possible. We're beyond that point.
What do you think will make a more impactful change in the long run, policy or education?
Education. Policy could always change, but if you get, education could change policy. Because when you have everybody kind of agreeing, okay, you know, we need clean water, we need clean air. And with the current administration doing that water thing, wiping out all those clean water rules, I don't feel bad, because I'm in Owens Valley. We got clean water. We will continue, California, being on a California state where we care about the environment. Countries, those states over in the east, they don't understand, you know. You guys really understand global warming. One of the basic rules of global warming, you raise the oceans by 1 degree Celsius, you get 7% more water in the air. Why do you think all these storms are getting so bad? Let's raise it a little bit more, let's see how much more water you get. Because LA started to tell, well, you guys want so much more water, one of these days you're going to get it, you're not going to know what to do with it. Because water will just, let's jump it up to 10% more water, let's wipe ourselves out. And that's what it will do. You'll be having rains and hurricanes. They're only rated to 5 now, where if they go to 10s. What do you think? We could build something strong enough that everything will have to be concrete buildings, but by then the food chain will disappear. These are Bristol cone pines up here. They give us their rings. And they talk about freezing cold, a lot of water. And also been in the 1800s, where it rained over 20 feet of water in San Joaquin Valley, flooded it all the way to Sacramento. That was even in the 1890s, 1860s. But that's reality. They want to make the San Joaquin Valley the breadbasket center of the world. Well, let's go flood that breadbasket. And then, what's the result? How many people around the world are dependent on that food source? They won't have it. So, you know, people don't realize Mother Earth evolved us into everything worked together. We dug up death, we're going to get death. That's how I look at it. I was invited to go speak to a bunch of research scientists in I think it was a pesticide division. Because when I kept talking about the balance of life, she goes, you know, Harry, you need to come talk to the rest of, I kind of understand what you're saying. Water rights, then you come down to a short time we've been here, 1855, 56 was the first white guy that ever came in this area. That was Alec Von Smith. He came in here to survey for townships. And then when he did 5 squares, which I ran into major irrigation ditch, he marked it on his journal. They're all in the Americorp library in Berkeley. I held them in my hand. That's where it's on display. In 2010, I was an Americorp officer for the Bishop tribe. I went over to Berkeley because they have 18,000 human remains at Berkeley, and about 8,000 or 9,000 are tribal. We have about 8 of them from this valley over there. So I went over there to smudge them off, talk to them, tell them to bring them home. They're still there, but Pat Steelan, she's a part of the Americorp, thought she was doing water in the West. She was looking for somebody who could speak about water from an 80s point of view. And she had contacted me. And then ever since I've been over there, going at least, this year's just 1 year. First time was 4 times a year, where I got to talk about water. And LIDs with P, how they got the water. And took it from here. We ended up making a documentary. Jenna Cavell was in the first class I spoke kilometers a day, and we didn't walk half of them, because when he GPS'd it, he put a tracker on, he stayed right in the ditch. So at that time, the bushwhacking kind of laughed around, but we had walked so much, but I'd done it the last, let's say, since '94, when I first started finding them. I just took it on myself, I want to walk with them. The more and more I walked, the more and more I found that went off sheets of them and stuff. There's even a hillside decree, it's one of the laws that kept LA from exporting water from this area. But it's an Indian ditch. It goes all the way from the mouth of the Bishop Creek, all the way to the golf course, basically. But there's so many ditches and systems off it. I even found one 2 weeks ago, I was walking around, I decided to walk it again just for the hell of it. And I found another one that went off and I had to find it. But that was a really interesting thing. And then I got into water rights, because the reason why I went for it, to find out the ditches, California state law says first in time, first in line. But you had to prove that for a beneficial manner. And I met 3 times with California Department of Water Resources attorney, and she told me the same thing. She goes, God, the way you argue, you win. And in my mind, that's my goal. It's about keeping water in this valley. Because if you don't understand, LA owns about 90% of the land in this entire valley. All the way up to Mono Lake, they own everything around that, Crawley Lake. Now they're up in the seaside that said keep the Long Valley green. And one of the ranchers have been ranching up there for over 100 years. They're going after his water rights because they can't get any more water out of Benue County because we have the long-term water agreement. In Mono County, they didn't want to join in on the long-term water agreement, so they have no defense. Now LA just said, we're not irrigating this 6,000 acres up there, and they're doing it. It's just like sue me, and they did. Mono County won this last one. Well, they did cut. I can't remember the name. Well, the judge allowed it to proceed because LA owns the leases to a lot of these lands they use with the ranchers. For a while they were maybe 10-year leases, then they went on to 5. Now they've changed them all to 1-year leases because if you complain, you just take your lease away. What can you do about it? So they're bullies. I always call them a bully. That's probably one of the biggest reasons I got into the fight. I never liked bullies because when I grew up, people try to bully me, but I had older brothers that beat them up, so they kept me a little. So, and I grew up boxing, and then we got pretty good at it. A lot of us got really good at it. So when I was in 8th grade, some of the tough guys from high school, seniors, they come to our boxing club. Next thing you know, they'd be beating up the guys in their age group. Just a big old slugfest. And Kinsey, our coach, would call me Harry. I laughed. I was only in 7th, 8th grade. Next year I'm boxing the scene. I'm scared. But that was a good part because I didn't like getting hit, so I knew how to dance around. But I had a good jab. There's a senior guy coming in. Boom! He'd get hit in the face. He didn't know what to do. He'd attack me again. He'd get hit again because I could back up. That's a good thing because even talking in front of you guys, I don't get too scared. I've talked. One time I was going in front of the wilderness, at a wilderness at Bill. I was going to do basically the entire White Mountains and other areas around here. And there was about 90 of us environmentalists supporting the Wilderness Act. And the rest, out of 400 or 500, were against us. And then I had to turn around and I said I supported it. The Bishop Tribal Council just talked to the chairman this morning, they support the Wilderness Act. I had to turn around, them be screaming and yelling at me. It's scary, but then I also went, damn, if you guys want to fight, I can do that too. It's like getting prepared for a fight. When you walk in that ring, you got to do it. But that's why I look at the environment. I'm willing to do this because I care. I like that word, care. Thanks for bringing it up. Because there are a lot of people don't. You don't care about one little thing. And what do you care about? water is life, and if you don't agree on that, stop drinking water. See how long you last. 3 days, maybe 4. That's about it, you know. That's why I care about water. It's also, we've been invited to Las Vegas. Las Vegas is a good example of recycling. And then desalinization is good and bad. If you do it on a mass scale, you can end up with kind of a salt. And that's harder. So there's, you have to live in a balance of life. How much you eat. Too much of anything is not good for you. Too much oxygen, that'll kill you. Too much water will kill you. Water make you drunk and then kill you. So that's you guys got more questions, so I'll just answer. Anybody out there? No, I don't ask me something here.
So how do you think this land would be if LADWP didn't buy it? Because it's not like developed, it's very, you know.
Well, if you look up every alluvial fan, there took about 3 or 4 miles to be green and grassland. We didn't have deer until about 4,000 years ago. We had bighorn sheep. We didn't have any other fish except for little tiny fish and one sucker fish. We'd be doing all right, but that's just how just like a dream world. Any other?
Gary, do you want to talk about the loss of water rights and the transfer of the property?
Yeah, that was interesting. 1856, when Juan Smith came in here, he just looked at the area and loved it. He did all these transects, and just showed everything. Then 1859, Captain Davidson came in the area. But we were one of the last people ever overrun. And if you don't realize, the first governor of California just went on a mass genocide, Central Valley. They just killed off Indians, paid them, paid for your bullets, gave you $5 or $25 for your scalp. They literally tried to kill us all. Other tribes came here because they always knew we were old-timer guys. And we didn't have no guns, but we had hell of rock fights. And every battle we had with the militia in that time, we won. But they fought the war of attrition, and they just kept starting us out. Because by that time, our foods that we gathered were because of the ditches. A lot of seeds that caused us to dig them up. The Pussy plants had a little seed at the end of them. We had sunflower. There's about 7 major seed crops that we gathered. But then when the first ranchers came in, that's when the wars really began, 1863. We fought like hell with them, but we didn't have any guns. We had like 4 guns. And then one of my friends, he's the one who told me that, his dad told him. But we learned to kill off the leader, and then the other guys quit. But then they learned to also run. They'd go attack us, get us all defensive. We were collecting food, and then they run. We even overran for independence at one of the battles. But then when the ranchers really came in here, then they started fencing everything off. And it was just legal to stuff us out, kill us. And by then, you guys would go up Sherwood Grade, Father Crowley Lake. He was a priest. He started petitioning the federal government, that and Edward Sherwood, to give a lot of lands to the tribes. And so some of us got, different families got a lot of lands. You guys don't know the area, but like Rocky Cay, it's a big, expensive, exclusive place. It's still fed by Indian ditches. But that was our allotment. But in 1935, they decided, because there was a tribe called Sutherland, they had 85 acres, but it took 10,000 acre feet of water to supply that thing because the ground was so porous. Today, they use that canal that fed it as one of their canals to put water back in the ground because it just soaks it up. But we had no water rights until 1924. The tribes in the United States, we were considered wards of the state. We couldn't build our own land. Some tribes did because they had treaties, but we didn't. They used their laws against us. And then my grandfather, we could own water rights. But most Indians really didn't realize those rules because nobody ever went to school. They just kind of said, these are the rules. chairman, he said, why don't the tribes really do this? So we ended up, started fighting, that's where they got the idea of fighting for those ancient irrigation ditches. Because all throughout the time, we'd always try to bring them up, and we had these rules, these ancient irrigation ditches with the water rights sit down, that nobody, wouldn't allow us to bring it up. Sometimes we went all the way to Washington DC to talk to Congress about it. They wouldn't allow them to speak. This lady, Edith Dewey, in one of the journals that Holtz had did, she wrote in it that we'd always try to bring up even the Indian ages would deny us. No, we try to say no, just lie. You guys can have them, but people do them. They don't want to recognize it. And then we did the land exchange of 35, with after Congress gave the rights to run out the Eastern Sierras to the cities of Los Angeles. City of Los Angeles, they had to add the word, to the towns, city of California too. Because they were creating a monopoly, but basically LA's got a monopoly in this area. Unless you want water out of the apparatus, you got to buy it, so that's a monopoly. Their use of their rights up here, that type of monopoly. Place called 40 acres, it was always had Indian ditches too. It was an allotment by these two guys out around the valley area. And they still do that. Every day, LA puts a lock on it. People at 40 acres go over and cut the lock. Every day, or once a week, they just keep going back and forth. And about, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago up in Mammoth, they did the same thing. The Valentine Reserve, and they said, you can't have no ponding up there. The water's ours. And then somebody asked me, so I told one of those city attorneys about that agreement. The water rights go to the Los Angeles, but the cities and towns of California. So I said, you guys your corporate has a town, use that law. And LA just dumped the lawsuit. But we always have to fight. And then the tribes we are guaranteed 4 acre feet of water for our 3 existing tribes. Independence, since they were a camp, that's where Fort Independence was, they always had like a treaty, a guaranteed rights. They have water, 3 acre, 1/3 of Oak Creek. And about, I don't know how long ago, 10 years ago, LA tried to run water off, not through all of it, through the Oak Creek, through the Fort Independence tribe. It made me laugh because they used an ancient irrigation ditch to move the water around it. But it didn't work because the water just it soaked in the ground. So basically we're losing the water because we have decomposed granite VG. It's real porous, so it doesn't stay. And then the Bishop tribe, we always have to fight for it, but we're not using a lot of land, or a lot of water rights, the 4 acre feet. And then about 2004, what pissed me off, LA approached our tribe, some little elders that were kind of on their side. LA approached the tribe and said, well, we want to take your domestic water out of your 4 acre feet. And those guys kind of agreed. That was another reason I got real pissed. I said, I'm going after you. That's what I really decided I was going after those ancient irrigation ditches. I said, I'm going to get you guys back. And I've moved those water rights all the way really up high, but the lady I was dealing with, she wasn't reappointed this last month. So I had it up to the control board where they were willing to do a work group on our ancient irrigation ditches. But then she wasn't reappointed, so I had to start again. And hardest part was to convince my own tribe that you guys have these water rights. Because they'd always, oh, we gotta ask our lawyer. Yeah. Now I got to put one. If you keep paying your lawyers $500 an hour to keep going to my house, then I'm going to charge, and one of these days I'm going to charge the shit out of you. I'm going to piss me off. I said, I'm doing that for free. But then when this lady didn't get appointed, she was the chairman of the California Water Control Board. They control all water rights in California. That would have been a big game changer. But then my council is finally getting it. But our council's burning out. Oh, it's good for 20 years. Like this next program, the 24th, I'm going to Cali PA Travel Advisory Committee. We're going to meet Jared Blumenthal. right above the reservation, DWP, would fix it for 3 years until all of us other tribes, about 50 people, went down to a water commission meeting, and protested. I was there. The biggest impact was this little kid. He got up and said, you know what? I woke up this morning ready to get on the van and come down here. I looked outside, my yard's full of just dust and weeds. I come down here to LA and I see palm trees, I see pools, I see all this stuff. How do you guys do that? And this is all we got. The two little ladies on the board that were mothers, was it Christina Newman, she just kind of went, she literally is rich. She goes, I'll write a check to fix that thing. She pulled out her check, like $250,000 check, gave it to our water power. But they fixed it in 2 weeks, after 3 years. But look at all the water they gained by not delivering water. And Big Pine doesn't have fields, very many, that they still irrigate. So it's all money game to capitalists, just look at it. And we won basically the Owens River project because Jerry Beebe, he was the general manager of LADWP, got a water symposium. He said, it's easier for us to litigate than to give up the water. And then the judge heard that, and that was when Judge Cooper said that, right, the Owens River project, because we presented that in our lawsuit. That was funny. I was in the back, I want to go. While arms went up, no voice couldn't yell. That was all happened. But the water rights are really important here because certain counties and states, they come here to see how LA DWP have taken water out of here. They study that. Other counties come and ask us, like over in Ely, Nevada, how do you guys fight them off? And just like create little groups and stuff like those, Sierra Club, Reservation, Native Plant Society. We were all in, we just go to court and give them straight facts. Courts have been on our side most of the time. That's the sad part when you have to really try to do what's right. And you gotta go to court. And if you ain't got the money, and that's just like, and if you lose, you lose. The one thing I liked about that Corpus City River project, our attorney Don Mooney, he's decided he's doing North Valley and the Bay Area pro bono. But when we won, he had added up all of it, like $700-800 hours. Then he got like $400 an hour. So he made his money back. But if he didn't really. That's just the way he does. But I was happy to know that's a good way to be a lawyer, kind of do something. But water rights are tough because LA owns everything right here. And now they put Sigma in. So it's kind of in the trial. We can't join it because we would end up having to give up our sovereignty. So whatever this little group, Sigma group, do, we would have to abide by it. But we're not going to. We don't want to join because if they came to a decision telling us, oh, you guys have to give up more water, by doing it, we would have to. So that's why we're not going to. As one of the ladies from the Department of Water Resources told us, act like a soccer or a Sigma group anyway. Just write down your decisions, do everything, just give it to the Department of Water Resources. Act like you're already a Sigma group. And that's my attitude. It's hard to talk people into what's right for them. Any more questions? Come on, some of you good bright minds out there, let that light bulb shine.
So you mentioned how important insects are. Are there any research projects that you guys are working on or focusing on right now?
With the COSA project, our food sustainability, we're not really into Sigma. I mean, those things, but we also have our water program comments you'd like to